Hey guys, Dr. Kyle Loveless here with Queen City Health Center and the Wellness Way, and I want to talk to you today about ear infections and really what causes an ear infection, or more importantly, what is an ear infection? I have so many patients that bring their kids in, and we get actually our number one referral from pediatricians into our clinic is for ear infections. Pretty cool. And it's because we're very effective with it, and we're going to talk about that, but more importantly, what is actually happening in the ear? Most parents don't understand that. So I'm going to talk to you about what is happening, what causes it, and then finally, I'm going to give you 3 simple, natural, effective ways to help get rid of ear infections without antibiotics. So avoiding the medications, because I know that's what we all want for our kids. Okay, hey, also, while you're watching, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We're gonna be constantly adding new videos, and you wanna get updated whenever we put those out. And then finally, make sure you watch to the end. Those 3 things I'm gonna talk about, those are gonna be at the end, and I got a surprise for you. I'm gonna give you something at the end of this if you make it to the end of the video. This is a teaching moment for you guys to understand what actually causes an ear infection. We think it's bacterial, or maybe we think it's viral, but why does the ear actually get infected? I mean, you'd think that our ears were made to drain and not have that infection. No, I'll tell you the most common kids that we see infections in, or actually I'll tell you the kids that we rarely see infections in, and I would actually put my kids in this category, are kids that haven't been vaccinated. And I know that seems pretty kind of controversial there, but I'm just telling you what we see. I've been practicing for 12 years, and that's just, it is what it is. I can't help that that's the case. But like for our kids, I have a 5-year-old, she's never had an ear infection. And it's supposed to be 90% of kids at some point in time, according to the journals, are gonna have ear infections, at least one. And I think it's 25% of them have frequent ear infections. I know growing up for me, I had ear infections all the time. So it's very important to understand what it is, and it's even more important to understand how to treat it. And we're gonna get into that too, naturally, so that you don't overdose your kids on antibiotics over their whole childhood. There's so many antibiotic use, and now we're seeing all the adults that were in that era of so much antibiotics, and they have all these gut issues because they destroyed their good bacteria. Okay, so this is an ear. All right, so give me a thumbs up, give me a like if you like my ear drawing. And if you actually give me a thumbs up if you can even tell what my ear drawing is. Okay, so this is obviously the ear, and this is the tube. Okay, this eustachian tube comes through here, and it goes so you can hear. This is your eardrum, and back in here, this orange stuff, right? You have bones as well, but this orange stuff right there is actually the fluid buildup. So that's what causes that ear infection. Okay, when fluid builds up in the ear, and there's many ways that this can happen. It can happen from sinus congestion. One of the main ways is actually viral respiratory infections will lead to this buildup. Swimming can lead to buildup in fluid, but ultimately it's that fluid buildup in the ear. The sinuses aren't draining the way they're supposed to. It stays there long enough. Viruses and bacteria build up, and I'll talk to you about viruses versus bacteria. Okay, viruses and bacteria build up, and there's actually, I think, 90% of the time they find bacteria, and 75% of the time they find viruses. And guess what? A good percentage of the time, I don't have that exact, but I think it's like 80% of the time there's both. Okay, and this is very important to understand when we talk about, is antibiotics the best approach for an ear infection? Okay, but it's this fluid buildup. One of the reasons we get such awesome results, and I'll talk about this more in the treatment, the natural treatments, is that we're able to help release the sinus area, and the ear infection can actually drain. So that's why the number one referral from pediatricians in our clinic is for ear infections, is because of that. And let me just say that again. Our chiropractic portion of our clinic, not the nutrition and the wellness way and all the stuff that we do, but just the chiropractic, the number one referral we get from medical pediatricians on a regular basis, literally weekly, is for this right here. Okay? So I'm going to leave you with that so you can think, as we go through the treatments, how would that be possible? How would just chiropractic care help with this infection? It's going to make a lot of sense when we get to it, because it helps that drainage process. Okay? Cool. So that's what an ear infection is. Why it happens, we're gonna get into next. All right, guys, now let's get into what causes an ear infection. Okay, and some of it you know, ear infections can come from swimming too much, fluid get in the ears, and a lot of parents know that, but we don't realize also viral infections, respiratory tract viral infections is one of the most common ways we get ear infections, because that fluid buildup. The other is just straight sinus congestion. Remember, the sinuses are right in here that we get that congestion that we feel, but those sinuses are all connected, and the ear is a part of that sinus system in our head, and so that can actually fill up fluid in there, and if it doesn't drain, it sits there too long, and bacteria, virus is built up. It becomes an infection, it becomes red, your body creates this natural innate immune response with inflammation to get there, and that's what you see. That's the red, painful stuff you see. That pressure from the infections pushing against the eardrum, and it hurts. So that's what you're gonna see there. But some other causes, we got ear canal injuries, so you actually have an injury to the ear canal. Kids are always sticking things in their ears, or they could get hit. Ear canal abscess, so that's a different kind of infection or fluid buildup around the skin in that area. Earwax, too much earwax around the skin. And your earwax is actually a protective mechanism of our body to protect things from getting in. So if your kids our kids are always playing in the dirt, which I think that's a great thing, but if they're always playing in the dirt, maybe they're around a lot of loud noises, that's another thing that will help increase our body's production of earwax, then you want to be regularly checking their ears to make sure they're not building up too much earwax, because that will keep that fluid from being able to drain properly. The other is ear canal foreign objects. So again, sticking things in the ear and getting stuck. I got a funny story for you. When I was a kid, I actually did that. I don't even remember what it was, but it was a piece of plastic. It was one of those little kid toys, and I was playing with it in my ear as a little kid, and it got stuck in there. And it's funny enough, I didn't feel it. I forgot about it because I was, I think, at 9 or 10. I forgot about it. Weeks went by, and my ear was killing me. And we went into the doctor. They looked in, they did the otoscope, looked in my ear, and lo and behold, they took a picture of it. They could actually see this little piece of plastic surrounded by pus, and it was gross. So then they took fluid and flushed it out. It was really painful, but hey, that was one of my ear infection experiences. And I grew up having ear infections all the time just because of fluid buildup and the natural other things that happen as well. But also bugs and things like that can get in the ear that we don't think about. So pierced ear infections, that's another one. Airplane ear infections is a big one as well. So if it's just post-traveling and your kid's ears start hurting, good likelihood that those sinuses are just locked up and not draining properly, and some of the care we do in the office can help get rid of that. And then finally is referred pain. If they have any jaw issues or teeth issues, that pain can be referred there. I'll show you, I'll post a picture of just the head and all the nerves that come around this area that come from the teeth and from the jaw, and this is all one big connection through there, and even in the upper part of the neck is all one big connection in that area. So those are some of the main causes of ear infections. Some of them you might have known, some of them you might not have, but it's good to just know, hey, why is my kid constantly getting ear infections? And for the most part, if it's frequent, if your kid's really getting them all the time, to me, that is a sign that there's something going on upper cervical in the neck. That is a sign that there's something going on with the immune response, that it's constantly having these infections and the actual innate immune response of stopping that from happening isn't happening. Or that, again, with that immune response, they're constantly having lung issues or viral infections in the lungs or in the sinuses. So those are other areas we need to address. All right, so let's talk about what do you do when your child, or maybe even as an adult, has an ear infection. I know that if you're watching this video, you're looking for a more natural approach. I can kind of already assume that. And so I can also assume that you don't want to give your child antibiotics if you don't have to. You want it to be a last resort thing, and that's really what the medical system is there for. It should be an emergency care system, not something we do with just every single ailment that we have. And so our kids are in pain. We don't want them to be in pain. We just want to do whatever we can to get rid of that ear infection so they're not hurting. I understand that 100%. I have 2 kids of my own, and anytime they have any kind of pain, I just want to change that. It doesn't matter most of the time what it is, and we just want to change it. So, but if we have that knowledge in front of us beforehand, we can feel more equipped to make that happen. So let's just look at the research on bacteria and viruses and what is actually building up in the ear. And so we have here, starting out, the medical approach is, as you know, antibiotics. And then if antibiotics don't work, if they've done enough antibiotics and they're still getting ear infections, they put tubes in. The studies that on tubes have shown that they really are ineffective and they don't get the result that you're looking for. I don't know why they still use this, but that's what they do. So I'm going to highly recommend staying away from tubes. Here's the study, one of the studies I found on ear infections, viruses versus bacteria. Okay, so is it a viral infection or is it a bacterial infection? Earlier, I talked about how respiratory tract viral infections will lead to ear infections. And so that fluid buildup can attract all kinds of microbials, whether it's bacteria, whether it's viruses. And so in this Science Daily, if you go to ScienceDaily.com, you can look up most ear infections. But we'll post this picture for you and you can see this article. But it talks about ear infections, and it says in 79 young children, they found bacteria in 92% of the cases. Okay, so there's that bacterial effect. They found viruses in 70% of the cases, and both bacteria and viruses in 66% of the cases. And I like to think about, okay, what if there was 70% of the time it's viral? Okay, so if it's a viral infection, that means antibiotics aren't going to do anything for it. So 70% of the time a child goes to the doctor, it's a viral infection. However, they give antibiotics without any kind of research, or I'm sorry, without any kind of looking into that and seeing is it viral or is it bacterial infection. That's a big deal because you're using antibiotics when they're not needed. And the reason that's a big deal is because, one, you have a whole microbiome in your body of bacteria that are good. And every time we get antibiotics in us, it takes away that microbiome, which leads to everything from more digestive issues to immune problems to even cancers down the road. So it's very effective, or very important to try to do as minimal amount of antibiotics as possible. And so in this article, they talk about this, antibiotics which are effective against the bacteria that cause otitis media, which is ear infections, have no effect on the virus found in otitis media infections. Therefore, the standard treatment for otitis media, which is antibiotics, can be at best partially effective in the majority of cases. All right, so when you go to your doctor and they give the antibiotic, what you're looking at is something that could be partially effective in the majority of the time. To me, I would rather go with something more natural that I know can be very effective and do the things that I know are going to drain the ear, okay? Because if you can drain that fluid out, the infection is going to get better. And so with our kids, if they have any kind of ailment, whether it's a fever, whether it's, and just so I'll let you guys know, my daughter's 5 years old, she's about to turn 5, and she's only had one fever in 5 years. My other daughter just turned 2, and she's had 2 fevers, and they lasted about, I don't know, 6 hours, and it was when she was teething. And I'm telling you that because the approach we're taking really strengthens their immune response to where they don't get these infections all the time that I always got growing up, my wife always got growing up. So I've done this enough, now we got 5 years of our kids, but then all of our patients over the last 12 years, for not only have I done the research on this, but I also got the experience of seeing it firsthand with our own children. And so the things that we want to look at is how do we actually treat this without antibiotics, because we know majority of the time it's not effective. Okay, this last thing, I think that kind of just makes it simple. There's a lot of other studies, and I'll put them in the links below. One that says antibiotic therapy for children with acute otitis media from NCBI, and that is a journal online, a medical journal. I'll put that on there. And there's also in the links, I'll put a study here, just to save us time, from the Journal of American Medical Association on otitis media, and then finally a study that examines antibiotic use for pediatrics versus medical ear eustachian tubes, putting tubes in, the difference between the two. And pretty much what the article says, and this is from University of Minnesota, is that there's no difference. Like that the more effective is, if you're going to do something, is going to be antibiotics. That eustachian tubes are not the way to go, is pretty much what it ends up with. But I'll post those in the link as well, and you can look into that. Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about what do you actually do about it. Okay, that's why I started this video out. I'm going to teach you how to change that. I'm going to give you 3 things. Number 1, first thing I'm going to recommend, if your child has an ear infection, take them to a good pediatric chiropractor, someone that works with children, even if it's a baby. Our daughters have been adjusted every single week since they've been born. Every single week, 5 years old, every single week since they've been born, and sometimes multiple times a week, because they might have a little bit of a sniffle or a cold or things like that. And I want to boost their immune response. Now, most people think of chiropractic care, and this is the best thing I love talking about. Most people think of chiropractic care and they think of back pain, they think of neck pain, they think of they think of back pain, neck pain, they think of headaches maybe. Just pain syndromes. And we do amazing with that stuff. It's kind of the simple, the wheelhouse, it's easy. But what most people don't think about is that your nerves don't just cause pain. And in fact, we're gonna have a picture here popping up that actually shows you all the nerves in your body that you feel, okay? And that's 9% of the nerves in your body, okay? So 9 to 10% of the nervous system actually has feeling to it. That's pain, that's touch, that's all that stuff. The other 91% or 90% of your nervous system is the functioning of your organs, right? That is your immune response. That is your digestive system. That is your heart, your lungs, everything else. That's all ran from the brain, and it has to get the information down the spinal cord and out those individual nerves. So if the core system that runs everything in your body is your brain sending signals down the spinal cord to every organ, tissue, cell in your body, everyone should have that evaluated, because that is the core system. That's what runs everything. And so how does this work with ear infections, okay? This picture pops up right now. It's gonna show you how the nerves flow to the inner ear. It's also gonna show you or I can also show you from that picture I did earlier how that inner ear is a sinus, okay? And in our sinuses, we get congestion. Two of the main things we'll see symptom changes with for patients is when we start adjusting this upper part of the neck, their sinuses start to drain. And they'll notice this one, but these sinuses start to drain too. It opens up that sinus cavity, fluid can drain out, ear infection heals, everything's good. Sometimes that takes multiple adjustments, sometimes it takes one. And so the number one, again, pediatric referral we get in our clinic at Queen City Health Center is from pediatricians. And it's for that. The second, get this, you're gonna like this is a side note. The second referral, top referral we get from pediatricians is actually digestive problems, constipation. We'll talk about that on a different video. But it's that idea of how do we make sure the nervous system has its optimal ability to function and heal, okay? So when we adjust, it stimulates the nervous system. It helps put the body into what we call a parasympathetic response. This is your relax, digest food, sleep response, okay? You have two parts of your nervous system. Your sympathetic, which is fight or flight, stress mode. We all know that one. We all feel that one on a daily basis. But we also have the other part that comes in and calms that down, which is your parasympathetic nervous system, which says relax, digest food, sleep, reproduce, right? All those things that are very important for us to heal. And so it helps put the body back into that response, which boosts your immune system. And so when our kids have any kind of ailment at all, sinus congestion, anything like that, it's multiple times a day they're getting adjusted because it's going to help put their body back into balance to heal itself. It's not put a bone in and put a bone out like a lot of people think when they think of chiropractic here. I always laugh at that scenario because if we were really putting a bone in and a bone out with adjustments, you'd be in a lot of pain. So we're not doing that. It's just keeping the nervous system at a good, healthy place. Right? So number one, chiropractic care. If you want referrals for chiropractors, maybe you're watching this video and you live in Texas or something, or maybe you live in California, and we're in North Carolina, so can't necessarily help you there, but I can refer you to somebody. So send a message over, I'll find someone in your area. I got lots of connections all over the country, and we will find you someone that can get your child adjusted and make a big, big difference. And go back on our YouTube channel and watch the videos, or maybe I'll even put this link in the comments here, to our video of teaching you what does a child adjustment look like. There's a video of my wife, Dr. Holly, I think 2011, and she has a baby who is old now. It's an older patient now, but he was a baby then, and she actually did an adjustment on him, so you can see what that looks like. It's not what you think it is. Most people get nervous about that, and I would too. Hey, you're gonna put your hands on my child's neck. It needs to be soft and gentle, and it is. So we'll walk you through that as well and how that adjustment actually looks. Number two thing you can do for otitis media. So you're getting adjusted. We're also going to do everything we can, right? So the second thing I like to recommend is it's an oil that we create, okay? And so it's an oil of garlic and olive oil, okay? Some people add other essential oils in there, but garlic is a really strong antiviral and antibacterial, and so is olive oil. And olive oil also helps that tincture kind of process where it can actually be a fluid coming into the ear. And so you'll put a little drop, you mix it up, you smash your garlic up, you mix that oil up, and you put drops in there in the ear. And if you go online, and maybe I'll look for a link for you guys, but there's plenty of recipes for this. It's pretty simple, but you put those drops in your child's ear, let that kind of soak in, and that's a really effective way as well. Hey, another just simple way that I know I used to do when I was a kid with ear infections, because my mom got tired of taking me to the doctor, is she would use hydrogen peroxide. Put a little bit of hydrogen peroxide in the child's ear, tingly feeling, and it helps that, and it helps kill the bacteria and can have that antibacterial effect as well. So start there. The third thing that I'm going to recommend is one of my favorite things, actually favorite antibacterial, I don't know if it's a supplement, but tools that we use in our medicine cabinet, our natural medicine cabinet at home, is colloidal silver. This one's awesome. Colloidal silver, my first experience with colloidal silver is when I was in college. I got pink eye. And if you've had pink eye before, you know how disgusting it is, and you can't open your eyes, and you pretty much have to stay home and away from everybody because it's so transferable to other people. And so I came across, I went to the doctor, got my antibiotic, and the antibiotic, it took about 4 or 5 days, and finally my pink eye went away. Now the second time I got pink eye, I had a friend that was in natural health care. This is before I was a chiropractor or even at chiropractic school, and he gave me colloidal silver. I put that on my eyes, I sprayed it on my eyes. By the end of the day, it was gone. And every time since that I've ever gotten pink eye, or anyone I know has gotten pink eye, it's been within the week. Within the day, their pink eye's cleared up or clearing up. So it's a strong antiviral and antibacterial. I use that as an example because it's a very visual infection that we know and we can see it happening in front of our eyes, or actually on our eye. But, so the inner ear, right? The inner ear is the same thing. It's an infection. So you put droplets of colloidal silver. Now there's different parts per million. You can get really cheap, maybe $12 bottle, $10, $15 bottles, but the parts per million is very important. The one I like to use is with the Wellness Way, and it is, I think it's 500 parts per million, very potent, and so you don't need a lot of it. A couple drops in the ear, and after a couple days, that should be starting to clear up, okay? So you can, this is our approach. Get adjusted. Get adjusted multiple times. A lot of times parents will come in, they'll get adjusted, and they won't come back. No, we need multiple adjustments until that ear infection is gone. I would be doing it if it was my child every single day. And then the garlic tincture with olive oil. And then finally, colloidal silver. Use those three things and I can tell you that you're gonna have a good impact on your child's ear infections. And here's the thing, guys, prevention is key. If you can prevent antibiotic use when they're younger and try to prevent that as much as possible, you're gonna have less ear infections. If you can prevent getting tons of vaccines. There's the list of vaccines on our child's programs now are insane. It's crazy. And I'm not going to go into a vaccine talk right now, but I think if you watch me enough, you understand how I see that and how we understand that. But I can just tell you, in the last 12 years of practice, that's what we see. Kids that are not vaccinated very, very rarely get ear infections. Okay, and then after swimming, put some hydrogen peroxide in the ear. Do some things that can be preventative, so you're not having to get to a point where there's an ear infection. After they fly, go get them adjusted, so that making sure all the cavities are open. If they get a sinus infection or a respiratory tract infection, take them to the chiropractor, get them adjusted. Do all the natural things you know to boost that immune response, so it never gets to the point where they get ear infections. All right. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. We want to continue just to influence you to make better health decisions and really become your own health expert, because at the end of the day, we live in a world where you have to become your own health expert. You never know what to believe. And the more you understand about the human body, the more you understand about the natural things you can do for you and your family, the better off your family is going to be in the long run. Okay. Hey, go to those links below. I'm going to post everything I said I was going to post. I told you I was going to give you a gift at the end. I almost forgot. I'm going to give you my inflammation ebook. It's an 11-page ebook, and it really walks you through what is inflammation, what is happening when your body is inflamed, and more importantly, what do you need to do about it, right? Do you just go take an anti-inflammatory like ibuprofen? Or are there some natural approaches and some preventative approaches that you can do? And I'm going to give you 10 in that ebook. There's 10 ways to tell if you're inflamed, and then there's 10 things you can actually do about it on your own without going anywhere. All right. Hey, you guys have an awesome day. We'll talk to you next time. Hey guys, thanks again for watching our videos. If you want to learn more about your health, if you really want to become your own health expert, I want to show you how. We have actually created online courses for you to continue to learn about becoming your own health expert. Our most recent one that we're launching is how do you raise a healthy family? This one's big. I get questions all the time about this. And I'm going to teach you how to eat. What should your whole family be eating, and how do you individualize that for your family? What supplements should you be taking? How do you detox your family? How do you detox your environment, get these chemicals out? How do you deal with all these things, right? How do you deal with fevers and ear infections and constipation and diarrhea? How do you create a natural medicine cabinet, right? Also, I'm gonna hit on vaccines. I'm gonna talk about the thing that so many people are nervous about but don't know if it's good, don't know if it's bad, don't know what to do. And I'm gonna be very clear and tell you the science behind it all. This is very simple, but hey guys, if you want that, go to the comments, hit the link, and it'll take you to those online courses. You can pick what works best for you and what do you think you want to learn first. Thanks so much again. You guys have an awesome day.